Peace be upon you, and welcome to a new episode. On April 28, 2023, the city of Tanta in the Garbia Governorate was filled with a great kind of joy. The streets of Isbet Kafr Dawood were lit up with lights, and the sound of ululations shook the houses. Everyone was celebrating the wedding of Aya Alsharbini, a 25-year-old woman who looked like a princess in her white dress. Aya was educated, cultured, and a kindergarten teacher, known for her high morals and beauty that captivated everyone. It was a picture-perfect moment, a bride just starting her new life, surrounded by her family's love, her friends' happiness, and her own dreams, just like any girl her age would imagine. But in a moment, that joy turned into a nightmare no one could have ever imagined. On April 30th, 2023, just 2 days after her wedding, Aya's body was found in her apartment, soaked in a pool of blood. And not only that, her body was covered in stab wounds, from her back to her neck. Who could do something like that to a young woman just starting her life? How could a wedding, supposed to be the beginning of love and stability, turn into such a tragedy in just 2 days? Today, we will tell the story of Aya Alsharbini, the bride of Tanta, whose life ended in an unimaginable way. But before we begin, don't forget to like and share this episode so it reaches as many people as possible. And if you're a fan of Indian stories, make sure to subscribe to our other channel to stay updated with the latest. You'll find the link in the description box. And without going into too many details just yet, let's dive into the depths of our story. At the beginning of 2020, Aya Alsharbini was an ordinary girl like any other in Tanta. She worked as a kindergarten teacher, going every day to teach young children letters and numbers, laugh with them, and share in their little joys. Aya came from a middle-class family. Her father and mother were very proud of her. She helped her family financially because she was a responsible girl who loved her parents deeply. She was always keen to be there for her mother and for her brother Hazem, who considered her not just a sister, but his closest friend. Aya was well known in the neighborhood for her good manners and her smile that gave hope to everyone around her. People described her as a flower, blooming and lighting up any place she was in. At that time, her engagement to Ahmed Gamal began, a young man from the same town, working as a sales employee. The engagement happened in the traditional way, just like it usually does in villages and small towns. Aya's family thought Ahmed was a suitable groom. He had a job, looked respectable, and came from a well-known family. But the truth was, Aya wasn't entirely comfortable with the engagement. The engagement lasted for about 3 years, from 2020 until 2023. During that period, Ahmed tried to get closer to Aya, bringing her gifts, visiting her, and showing interest in her. He tried to present himself as the ideal man, someone any girl would dream of and any family would feel safe entrusting their daughter to. But behind this shiny image, Aya felt something wasn't right. According to what her mother later said during the investigation, Aya had told her that she wasn't comfortable with Ahmed, that she didn't like the color of his skin, which was dark, and that she didn't prefer men with that complexion. Aya felt that something was off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on what exactly it was. She used to say she couldn't see herself with him in the long run, and that he wasn't the man she dreamed of. But her family, especially her mother and her brother Hazem, believed Ahmed was a good opportunity. They told her she just needed more time to get used to him, and that marriage is difficult for any girl in the beginning. Aya's mother tried to comfort her daughter, telling her that feeling out of place was natural and that she would grow used to Ahmed with time. Hazem also reassured her, telling her that Ahmed was a good man and that she should give him a chance. Aya, like many girls who respect their family's opinion, eventually gave in and decided to go along with the engagement and agree to the marriage. But deep down, she still felt that something wasn't right. On April 28, 2023, the big day everyone had been waiting for finally came. The wedding of Aya and Ahmed was a huge event in Esbet Kafr Dawood. The streets were packed with people, and the whole place was filled with joy. Aya looked radiant in her white dress, and everyone was talking about her beauty and elegance. It seemed like the beginning of a new life full of hope and happiness. Ahmed also appeared happy, laughing with the guests and acting like the happiest man in the world. People said he had achieved his dream and that Aya was the kind of girl any man would wish for. After the wedding, Aya and Ahmed went to their apartment to start their new life together. Everyone thought the next couple of days would be full of laughter and joy, like any newlywed couple. But what happened in that apartment was something no one could have imagined, something that shattered that perfect image and turned it into an unexpected tragedy. On April 29, 2023, the first day after the wedding, it was supposed to be a quiet, peaceful day. The newlyweds relaxing, having breakfast together, talking, and starting to get used to each other. But the reality was far from that. Aya began to feel that something wasn't right from the very first night. According to her mother's statements in later investigations, Aya called her that day and told her that Ahmed had made a very strange request on their wedding night. She said that Ahmed asked her to do things she considered unacceptable, describing them as things like the people of Lot, a reference to acts considered immoral in Islamic tradition. Aya was shocked and felt she couldn't deal with him. She was afraid and sensed there was something suspicious behind his behavior. Her mother tried to calm her down, telling her she was probably just nervous because the marriage was still new and that she needed some time to get used to Ahmed. She advised her to try to adapt, saying that the beginning of any marriage is hard for any girl. But Aya felt the matter was bigger than that. She had a strong feeling that something was seriously wrong, but she couldn't express it clearly to her mother. That day, Aya tried to avoid any sensitive conversation with Ahmed. She acted normal on the outside, but inside she was deeply worried. She felt trapped in a house with someone she didn't understand and didn't know how to deal with. On the other hand, Ahmed felt that Aya was rejecting him, and that started to affect him psychologically. According to his statements in the investigation, he said he tried to talk to her and get closer to her, but she refused any attempt from him. He felt she was distancing herself, and that began to make him suspicious of her. But the truth was that Aya had discovered something about him, and she was the one who was afraid. That day passed without any major incident, but the tension between them kept growing, like a fire slowly consuming dry grass. On the morning of April 30, 2023, Aya's mother decided to visit her daughter at the apartment. She wanted to check in on her and see if they had begun to adjust to each other. When she arrived, she sat with Aya and Ahmed, and they had breakfast together. On the surface, everything looked normal. Aya was smiling, trying to appear okay. But deep down, she was scared. She tried to hide her anxiety so as not to embarrass her mother or make her suspect anything serious. At one point, when her mother was alone with her in the bedroom, Aya took the opportunity to speak to her again about what had happened. She told her mother she was still afraid of Ahmed and that she couldn't trust him. She said he was still asking for things she couldn't accept, and she felt that there was something abnormal about his behavior. She was trying to tell her mother that she wasn't comfortable and that she was afraid to stay in that house with him. Aya's mother, like any mother torn between protecting her daughter and fearing public scandal, told her that she just needed more time, that she would eventually grow accustomed to her husband. She advised her to give both herself and Ahmed a chance and to try to move past these feelings. But Aya insisted that she wasn't comfortable, that something wasn't right about him. She felt she needed help but didn't know how to get that message across in a way that would make her mother believe her. Aya's mother, sadly, didn't know that this would be the last time she would see her daughter alive. When she left the apartment at noon, she thought she'd come back later and find Aya doing better. She believed it was just the usual tension of early marriage and that everything would go back to normal. But what happened after that was the complete opposite. After Aya's mother left, the tension between Aya and Ahmed started to grow even more. Ahmed felt that Aya was pulling away from him and that she would never truly accept him. According to his statements in the investigation, he tried to talk to her, joke around, put on a movie for them to watch together, trying to break the barrier of fear and shyness between them. But Aya was still rejecting any kind of closeness. She felt she couldn't trust him, and the strange requests he made on the first night only made her more afraid of him. She felt trapped and didn't know how to handle the situation. On his side, Ahmed began to feel that her refusal wasn't just because she was shy or nervous. He started to suspect that she was hiding something from him, and sick, twisted thoughts began to form in his mind. He started to think that maybe she was cheating on him, or that she had a big secret. But the truth was that Aya was the one who had discovered something about him, and she was the one who was afraid to be in the same house with him. She felt she was in danger, but didn't know how to get out of the situation without causing a major problem or upsetting her family. On the same day, April 30th, 2023, at around 10 a.m., Ahmed got out of bed, and Aya was still in the bedroom. She might have been sleeping, or maybe she was trying to avoid any conversation with him. At that moment, Ahmed felt everything inside him building up. Aya's repeated rejection, the suspicion swirling in his head, and the growing psychological pressure with every passing second. He felt like she was challenging him, making him feel like he wasn't a real man. Without much thought, he went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and returned to the bedroom. Without saying a word, he began stabbing Aya in the back. Aya tried to defend herself, tried to escape, but he was faster and stronger. He stabbed her once, twice, 3 times, until the number of stab wounds exceeded 35 across her entire body. Her neck, back, fingers, every part of her was soaked in blood. Aya collapsed between the bed and the dresser, and in that moment, her life ended. The way the crime was committed was horrifying. It didn't seem like a moment of anger, but a deliberate plan to end Aya's life in the most brutal way possible. The number of stabs and the extreme violence used made it clear that Ahmed wanted to ensure Aya wouldn't live, that she wouldn't walk out of that apartment alive. After committing the murder, Ahmed called Aya's brother, Hazem, and told him, "Help me. I've done something terrible." Without explaining what happened, he hung up and ran out into the street, holding the bloody knife in his hand, his clothes covered in blood. People in Esbet Kafr Dawood saw him as he screamed, "I killed her! I killed her!" At first, people didn't believe it. How could a groom, just married 2 days ago, do such a thing? But when they saw the blood on his clothes and the knife in his hand, they grabbed him immediately and called the police. Hazem reached the apartment before the police. When he walked in, he found his sister drenched in blood. The scene was a complete shock, not just because he had lost his sister, but because of the horrific way she died. Her body was full of stab wounds, and her blood covered the floor. Hazem didn't know how to react. He was in shock, as if the world had frozen in that moment. He felt like he had failed his sister, because he was one of the people who encouraged her to marry Ahmed. When the police arrived the same day, April 30th, 2023, they took Ahmed to the police station and began interrogating him. At first, Ahmed tried to justify what he did. He claimed he had discovered that Aya was not a virgin, and that's what made him lose control. He alleged that she had been refusing any intimacy from the first night, and he suspected she was hiding something from him. He said her constant rejection made him feel she was cheating on him or had a big secret, but the investigation proved his claims were lies. The forensic report, issued on May 5, 2023, confirmed that Aya was a virgin at the time of her death, meaning Ahmed's claim motive was just an excuse to justify his crime. The report also confirmed that Aya was stabbed more than 35 times in different parts of her body, including wounds to her neck and back, and that her fingers were severed, indicating the extreme level of violence Ahmed used. The report was strong evidence that the murder was premeditated, not a moment of rage as Ahmed had tried to convince the police. The police didn't just rely on Ahmed's statements. They began investigating Aya's family, especially her mother. That's when the truth started to surface. Aya's mother spoke about the phone call she had with her daughter on April 29th and about her visit on April 30th. She said that Aya was afraid of Ahmed and told her about the strange things he asked for on their wedding night. She said Aya was shocked and felt that Ahmed had abnormal sexual tendencies and thoughts. Aya's mother said she regretted not taking her daughter's words seriously. She had thought Aya was just nervous and that things would settle over time. But the truth was that Aya had sensed a real danger. The police also began investigating Ahmed Gamal's background. They asked neighbors and acquaintances in the village and discovered rumors about his behavior before the marriage. Some said he used to act strangely and that sometimes he was seen wearing women's clothing. There were also testimonies suggesting that Ahmed had non-traditional sexual preferences and that he had been trying to hide that side of himself. Unfortunately, there was no solid physical evidence to prove those rumors. But the testimony of Aya's mother, combined with the forensic report, was enough to establish that Ahmed had motives other than the ones he claimed. On May 5, 2023, the public prosecution charged Ahmed with premeditated murder with intent. The investigation proved that this wasn't a moment of rage, as Ahmed had claimed. His choice to go to the kitchen, pick up a knife, and attack Aya from behind, all of it pointed to a planned act. The numerous stab wounds and the excessive violence showed that Ahmed wanted to make sure Aya died and would not leave that apartment alive. On May 25, 2023, the case was referred to the Grand Mufti to seek the Islamic legal opinion on Ahmed's execution. On June 19, 2023, the Tanta Criminal Court sentenced Ahmed Gamal to death by hanging after the Mufti approved the ruling. Ahmed tried to appeal the verdict, but on May 26, 2023, the judge rejected his appeal and upheld the death sentence. This case wasn't just an ordinary crime. It was a shock to everyone in Egypt. Social media exploded, and people across the country were demanding justice for Aya. Everyone was stunned. How could a young woman like Aya, just starting her life, meet such a horrifying end? Aya's mother was devastated. In a live interview with Cairo 24 on May 4, 2023, she spoke about her daughter, saying she had felt that something was wrong but never imagined things would go this far. She said she regretted not listening to her daughter from the beginning and thought it was just typical newlywed tension. Hazem, Aya's brother, was also shattered. He said that when he saw his sister in that state, it felt like his entire world had stopped. The murder plan itself, as proven by the investigation, was the result of a combination of psychological pressure and deeply rooted suspicions in Ahmed's mind. But it was clear, this wasn't a moment of insanity, as his lawyer tried to argue. Ahmed had time to think. He walked to the kitchen, picked up a knife, and chose to attack Aya from behind. The brutal way the crime was carried out clearly shows that he intended to end Aya's life. Maybe he was afraid she'd expose his secret. Maybe he thought he was protecting his reputation in his own twisted way. The rumors that Ahmed had non-traditional sexual tendencies and that he made requests Aya could never accept were part of the story. And even if those rumors weren't 100% confirmed, what's certain is that Aya was the victim of a grave injustice. She simply refused something she could never accept, and it cost her her life. This case made many people reflect on so many things. How could a girl like Aya, who simply dreamed of a peaceful life, end up like this? How will her family live with this pain for the rest of their lives? And how does a society like ours allow things like this to happen in the first place? The case sparked a major discussion about domestic violence and the importance of listening to our daughters when they say they're uncomfortable. Aya tried to tell her mother she was afraid, but her voice wasn't heard loud enough. If someone had taken her words seriously, maybe things would have turned out differently. The people of Tanta and all of Egypt talked about this case for months. Everyone was demanding justice, and they all felt that Aya didn't deserve such a tragic end. Social media was full of comments about her, and everyone expressed sympathy and solidarity with her family. In the end, Aya Alsharbini was just like any other girl. She dreamed of a dignified life, one filled with love and stability. But that dream was shattered in just 2 days. Ahmed Gamal, the man who was supposed to be her life partner, was the one who ended her life. The death sentence, issued on June 19, 2023, was the justice that everyone had been calling for. But no matter how strong that justice is, it won't bring Aya back. It won't bring back the smile that lit up her face on her wedding day. It won't bring back the hope in her eyes as she wore her white dress. This case will remain a mark in Tanta's history, and it will always remind us that we must listen to our daughters, trust their instincts, and take their words seriously. Aya Alsharbini, the bride of Tanta, will remain a symbol of every girl who deserved a better life. May God have mercy on you, Aya, and grant patience to your family for the pain they endured. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. If it's your first time watching the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new content. Stay tuned for the next episode. Goodbye.